Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we're actually talking about China because China is already trying to find ways around Apple's new privacy, and this applies to a lot of companies out there, including TikTok, so heads up to you, TikTok users. Now, this is coming from the Financial Times. Some of China's biggest technology companies, including ByteDance, which is the owner of TikTok, and Tencent, are testing a tool to bypass Apple's new privacy rules and continue tracking iPhone users without their consent, which China is very well known for, to serve basically targeted mobile advertisements to those in China. Now, this is coming from the Financial Times. Apple is expected in the coming weeks to roll out changes it announced last June to iPhones that it says will give users more privacy. Until now, apps have been able to rely on Apple's IDFA system to see who clicks on ads and which apps are downloaded. In the future, though, they will basically have to ask permission to gather tracking data, a change which is expected to deal a multi-million-dollar blow to the online advertising, including Facebook, Google, and others, and basically has been fought by Facebook since most users are expected to decline to be tracked. Now, this is where Facebook basically had this huge problem. I did a video on that, listing out the laundry list of ways Apple was showing you how Facebook was actually data mining the bejesus out of you. But Chinese companies, Facebook is bad. Oh Lord, ByteDance and others are worse. And speaking of ByteDance, who, as I mentioned, owns TikTok, referred to the CAID, this is the new system, in an 11-page guide to app developers obtained by the Financial Times, suggesting that advertisers, quote, can use the CAID as a substitute if users' IDFA is not available. Now, several efforts are underway to get around Apple's new rules, but CAID is the biggest challenge to them yet, and the iPhone maker declined to basically comment on this. But in a move that sets the stage for major confrontation, Apple denied that it would grant any exceptions. Now, here's the thing, and according to Apple, and I quote, "The App Store terms and guidelines apply equally to all developers around the world, including Apple. We believe strongly that users should be asked for their permission before being tracked. Apps that are found to disregard the user's choices will be rejected." But here's the thing, and this is why I think Apple is full of BS on this one, especially when it comes to China, not necessarily in the Europe and the United States and all of that. They basically cannot ban every single app in the App Store in China. If they did, that would essentially tell the Chinese government they're not willing to play ball and get Apple kicked out of China, and Apple will never do that. They have been bending over backwards for years to the Chinese government, allowing privacy, allowing basically privacy violations and access in a way that we here in the United States or Canada or Europe or Australia simply don't allow. I have personally been to the Apple Store in Beijing, China, in the Wangfujing district, and it is massive. It is something like 4 or 5 stories tall. It is huge. Apple has a massive presence there, as does Google, and I've done previous videos on how our major tech companies are essentially bending to China's will for data mining and privacy violations in order to gain a foothold in what is essentially the most populous country in the world to tap into that market. So Apple might say that right now, but I simply do not believe that this new system that Apple, or rather China, is attempting to bypass is going to be in effect. I would also believe that China at some point, if this becomes a problem, will go to Apple directly and say, you're either going to allow us to do this or consider yourself done in our country. I would expect nothing less from this. So if you're an Apple user and you essentially like and enjoy your privacy here, that's great, but make sure it applies to everybody in the world, including markets that may be very tough for Apple to want to stay in if they have to do that. I think universal privacy is considered a civil right here in the United States, and it should be considered a civil right in the world. And so this is one of those things where I'm vehemently going to disagree with Apple on. And I've disagreed with Apple on other things as well, including them removing every antivirus, app from the App Store. If you read the fine print, it doesn't actually scan for viruses. It does anything but. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we have serious problems with. Conversely, Google's Android, the Google Play Store for Android rather, is a lot more Wild West, meaning there are more malicious apps that basically get into that store compared to Apple's. And make no mistake, malicious apps do get into the App Store, but we have every tool in the arsenal on the Android side, and we have none on the Apple side in that sense. We are relying on Apple for that. And when they are basically and essentially kowtowing to governments like China, that is a very disturbing thing. And so we will see what happens here while they're actively, the Chinese government and state-sponsored companies like ByteDance that owns TikTok and Tencent, which is another massive company, Baidu and others, are essentially looking for that workaround right now. At some point, there may be an agreement between Apple and China that simply allows that. And I don't think that's right. And so that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. And please stay private. Thanks, everyone.